someone who should simply be ignored, an attention seeker, if you will. Well, that is the case according to Liz Truss yesterday. It has sparked fury, so it has, over in Scotland, with many people saying perhaps she's not taking the union seriously. Where do you stand on it? Also, Liz Truss last night was busy making lots of kind of promises, thoughts, ideas, policies, whatever you want to call them, the war on Whitehall and all the rest of it. Unfortunately, though, she's had to almost U-turn backtrack on at least one of them today. Are we in danger of the two people, Liz and Rishi, basically throwing anything out there in order to secure these votes of less than 200,000 people when really they can't deliver on any of it? You tell me. And also, we all know what's going on by now, don't we? The absolute state of the travel industry is everywhere, isn't it? It starts at the passport office, goes all the way through. Good luck trying to even get through an airport, never mind onto the plane and off the plane. It's a mess. What is the answer? Is it to bring in the army? Oof, wouldn't want to be a soldier. They do tend to get pulled out to do absolutely everything, fix all the problems. Is this the job for them? You tell me. And also, workplaces, are they going soft, all in the pursuit of the young? Whether it's safe spaces here, access to therapy there, working 4-day weeks, free food, free coffees, ping pong tables. Are we just going a little bit too soft? I want all your thoughts on all of that. But first, let's bring ourselves up to speed with the latest news headlines with Polly Middlehurst.
Michelle, thank you. Good evening to you. The top story at just after 6 o'clock. Archie Battersby's parents say they're extremely disappointed after losing their Supreme Court appeal today. It means their 12-year-old son, Archie, who's been in a coma since April and has been declared brainstem dead by doctors, will be taken off life support. 3 judges refused to postpone the withdrawal of his treatment and also refused permission to appeal against their ruling. In other news today, a man who was arrested carrying a crossbow in the grounds of Windsor Castle has been charged under the Treason Act. Police say Jaswant Singh Chahil from Southampton is accused of intending to injure or alarm the Queen. The 20-year-old was intercepted on Christmas Day last year. He'll appear in court later on this month. Politics, and Tory leadership candidate Liz Truss has abandoned a proposed policy to slash public sector pay for workers who are outside London. At the hustings event in Exeter last evening, where she appeared alongside her opponent Rishi Sunak, she claimed the plan would save nearly £9 billion a year. But Labour and senior Conservatives both criticised the move, saying the policy would level down the country. BP has reported a profit of nearly £7 billion for the second quarter. That's the biggest in 14 years. And it also comes at the same time as UK households are hit by rising oil and gas prices, with inflation at its highest in 40 years. A consultancy firm has warned energy bills could reach more than £3,600 a household this winter. That's hundreds of pounds more than previously expected for England, Wales and Scotland. British Airways has suspended the sale of short-haul flights from Heathrow Airport for at least another week. The move is affecting domestic and European services, with the airline saying it's in response to Heathrow Airport's request to limit new bookings. Last month, the airport announced a daily limit of 100,000 passengers a day until mid-September. China has placed its military on high alert in response to the US House Speaker's visit to Taiwan. Nancy Pelosi travelled to Taipei in Taiwan despite a warning from the Chinese president that it would undermine relations between their two countries. After landing, she said Taiwan's democracy was under threat and the US remained committed to supporting the island's defence. The People's Liberation Army says it will conduct joint military operations and test missiles in the sea east of Taiwan during her visit. A US drone strike has killed the leader of al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. Ayman al-Zawahiri, one of the world's most wanted terrorists and a man who helped plan the 9/11 attacks, was Osama bin Laden's successor. President Joe Biden says he was killed in a counter-terrorism operation over the weekend in Kabul after evading the US authorities for nearly 21 years.
On Saturday, at my direction, the United States successfully concluded an airstrike in Kabul, Afghanistan that killed the emir of al-Qaeda, Ayman al-Zawahiri. Now, justice has been delivered, and this terrorist leader is no more.
Well, former defence advisor to President Bush, Jamil N. Jaffer, told GB News this airstrike is a huge win for the White House and for the wider world.
To be sure, al-Qaeda will try to regroup and will appoint a new leader, probably Sturgeon Haqqani, a member of the Afghan government and the former head of the Haqqani network. But al-Qaeda, for now at least, is been worn down. They will come back, though, and the key is to keep the pressure on them, both in the United States to prevent attacks in the United States, but also against our allies in the UK and Europe.
Here, an arrest warrant's been issued for the older brother of the Manchester Arena bomber after he didn't turn up to give evidence at the public inquiry into the 2017 attack. Ismail Abedi, who fled the UK last summer, failed to attend the hearing at Manchester Magistrates Court today. Last month, the 29-year-old was found guilty in his absence of failing to comply with a notice which compelled him to cooperate with the inquiry. Almost 700 migrants crossed the English Channel yesterday, a daily record for the year so far. Latest figures from the Ministry of Defence showed 696 individuals made the journey in 14 boats. Large groups of migrants, including young children, were being seen brought ashore in Ramsgate before leaving the Kent port on buses. That's it. You're up to date on TV, online and on your radio via DAB+. You're with GB News, where now it's time for Dewbs & Co.
Thanks for that, Polly. Well, keeping me company until 7 o'clock tonight. My panel, we've got the author, James Bloodworth, and businesswoman and entrepreneur extraordinaire, Emma Sale. Also a campaigner, it says here. What do you campaign on, Emma?
Anything I'm not happy about.
Anything she's not happy about, ladies and gentlemen. Why not, eh? Why not? You're a new face tonight, Emma, so welcome to you. And also, of course, James, welcome to you. Last time you was here was picking on you for your hair colour, wasn't you?
Yeah.
Wasn't we?
I think it's improved since the last time, the colour. The tone has changed a little bit.
The tone, if anyone was
subtle.
if you're a religious regular viewer to Dewbs & Co, you will remember this well. James was declaring that he dyed his hair blonde. It was very quickly pointed out by pretty much every single viewer that I have that it wasn't blonde at all. It was, in fact, ginger, and he was in denial. But I must say, it is more blonde today.
It is. I put a toner on it. It's improved it.
Did you? Just for the audience today?
Yeah, I mean, the jibes got to me a little bit last time, so I thought...
Did they hurt your feelings?
Well, it was pointed out to me that it was more of a copper than a blonde colour, and I went home, reflected on that, and changed the colour up.
Oh, well, there you go. You have influence, Dewbs & Co audience. You have influence. What can I say? You've got power, even down to the colour of a panellist's hair. We'll take full credit for the change. And if you're listening on the radio thinking, what on earth is she talking about? Don't worry, take it from me. It looks better this week than it did the other week. Right, you know the drill on Dewbs & Co. It's not just about our thoughts here, it's about you at home as well. Get in touch with me. What's on your mind tonight? gbviews@gbnews.uk is the email. You can tweet me at gbnews or at Michelle Dewbs. I want all your thoughts tonight. We'll be starting with Liz Truss, Rishi Sunak, the whole leadership thing. Did you watch the debate yesterday over in Exeter? What did you make to it? There's lots of headlines coming out today about some of the promises. Are they doable, though? Are they achievable? There's already been a kind of U-turn today from Liz Truss on one of those things. I also want to talk to you as well about the travel chaos. What is the answer to it? Because people are suggesting bringing in the army. Is that the answer to fix the travel woes in this country? And also, I want to talk as well about workplaces. Are they going soft when it comes to trying to attract and keep the younger members of the workforce, whether it's safe spaces or 4-day weeks or, I don't know, free therapy or bring your dog to work, whatever it is? Are we kind of blurring the boundaries between work and home, and is that a good thing? Get in touch and let me know all your thoughts on that. Already tonight, lots of people commenting on your hair, by the way, James. We like to get to the heart of the important issues on Dewbs & Co. always. I'll save some of those comments and tell you at the end what the verdict is on your new hairdo. Simon's been in touch and says, promises, promises, promises. Why don't you just deliver on the 2019 manifesto, Tories? Since when was we given the green light to scrap the very plan that they were elected on and try and create new ones? Whatever happened to governance in the Conservative Party? That's what Simon says. And Simon, I had an interesting conversation today with Sean, the taxi driver. Hello, Sean, if you're watching or listening. And he was saying to me that the Tories need to drop net zero, for example. And we was having a conversation, and I was explaining that that was actually in the manifesto. And one of the interesting things that I would ask people is, do we even remember what was in the 2019 manifestos? Because for me, that election was pretty much done on a Brexit ticket. A lot of people didn't really pay that much attention to what was in the manifestos. Did you? Did you like what you saw there? And when you look at Liz and Rishi, do you think that they've got a mandate to try and change what was in that manifesto that got them elected as a party in the first place? Right, shall we also move on and talk about Nicola Sturgeon? Because if you did see the debate yesterday, you might have seen Liz Truss say this.
I feel like I'm a child of the union, that I really believe we are a family and we're better together. And I think the best thing to do with Nicola Sturgeon is ignore her. Look, she's an attention seeker, Seb. That's what she is. And what we need to do is show the people of Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales what we are delivering for them.
Emma, see, I've got to say, Liz got a bit of a chuckle there from the audience, and she will have got a bit of a cheer from some people that think, yeah, ignore her. But it's not really based in any reality. You can't, as the UK Prime Minister, just ignore the First Minister of Scotland. It's silly, isn't it?
It's silly, but it's sort of, I think, what's happened till now, the Tories and Labour have created this kind of political vacuum in Scotland with the SNP coming straight in, and they're sat there, and all Sturgeon had was this sort of, I want to leave and be on her own, and her ego and be really important and run my own country. And she shouted a bit, then they did a referendum, and it's very clear the Scots don't want to be parted from the union. Is that very clear? Because I always thought it was about 50-50. No, it was more than 50, but you speak to most Scots, and since then more have come out saying, and I think the last couple of years as well, even more so, that they want to still be part of the union and let's work together. And I think what Truss is sort of saying and wanting to do, I know it's what she wants to do, is actually go, right, let's work together. There's 4 parts to this union. And actually, I think Scotland, they want some attention. They want to feel that they're as important as England. They want London to acknowledge them and pump money in and pump money into sort of the jobs, the infrastructure, the travel side of it, the communication side of it, all of it. And I think that's what Truss wants to do. And I think with Sturgeon, all she's had is this sort of, I want to be independent, I want to be independent, I want to be independent. And then she sort of makes a bit of noise, gets a bit more money, goes quiet for a bit, and then suddenly starts up again. I want to be independent, I want to be independent. And so I did laugh personally, and I saw what she was saying. Sort of, she behaves like this petulant child. And I just think it's time to give Scotland more attention. I think that's what Truss wants to do, and wants to unify the 4 countries rather than this kind of us and them that's gone on.
Nothing says I want to give you more attention than declaring I'm going to ignore your leader.
Yeah, I mean,
where are you on it?
I'm not Liz Truss's biggest fan. I think her pledge of tax cuts would be a disaster at the moment for the economy in terms of, I think it would increase inflation, you'd see interest rates go up. However, I think this criticism of her is a bit of a storm in a teacup. I think Liz Truss, I mean, we've seen the soundbite in the newspapers, they've quoted Liz Truss today, but she was actually responding to a question about specifically another referendum. So she was saying when Nicola Sturgeon demands another referendum, she should be ignored. Not generally, not she shouldn't be talked with during normal diplomacy, but when she's demanding another referendum, she should be ignored. And I think that's I think that's a fair position. I mean, the SNP, when they won the chance of having a referendum in 2014, it was called a once in a generation vote. And then if it was rejected, which it was, that would put the issue to bed for a generation.
But the pushback to that would be the landscape has. This is not my pushback. This is a pushback that I would hear people say. The reason that we need to do it again is because the landscape has fundamentally changed because of Brexit.
No, we can say this about lots of different issues. We could say that about Brexit. I mean, well, now COVID's happened, it's completely different, so we should have another vote again. I don't think you can keep demanding a referendum on this. And the idea as well that the SNP have pushed back and said that, this shows contempt on Liz Truss's part for Scotland. Well, the SNP doesn't represent all of Scotland. They won 45% of the vote at the last election. They are the largest party. They do have a significant degree of support, and they should be. We have to deal with them. But I don't think therefore we have to cave in and give them a referendum every 5 minutes because they're unhappy with the government in Westminster.
Are you in Scotland, by the way? Are you watching from Scotland? Because if you are, I'm particularly interested in your view tonight. Where do you stand on Nicola Sturgeon? Where do you stand on Liz and Rishi? Rishi? Who's Rishi? Rishi. You know what I mean. What do you think? Who do you want to be the next Prime Minister? Get in touch and tell me your thoughts. Emma, I'm right in thinking that you are backing Liz over Rishi as the person you want to win the contest, if I can call it that. But aren't you a little bit worried that what's happening at the moment lacks substance? So I feel like I'm just hearing things kind of being trotted out like confetti. Oh, we'll give you this, we'll give you that. We're going to do 30 billion of tax cuts. We're going to get rid of diversity and inclusion. We're going to... All these things kind of not, to me, they don't really feel very thought through because they seem to be like, I want your vote. I'm going to say this to you just to get your vote, without the substance there.
Well, I think I'm a Trussite, if I can coin that expression.
Trussite.
And the thing, I have followed her for years and actually said, about 5 years ago, I'll give her 4 or 5 years and she'll be the next Prime Minister. And Boris came in and said, it will be Truss after that. And friends of mine have said, you called it. And she has what she stood for and what she's said over and over the years. And so she, sort of a sporty, kind of that classic libertarian side of things, and like low tax, small government, getting more power to the people. That's what she's always been, and she's always been true to that. And now it's all coming out in the last couple of weeks. She's slowly been actually revealing her true self and actually her true beliefs. So it's not a case of her just throwing it out to win votes. And I think actually that's why, if you look at sort of 3-4 weeks ago, it wasn't a sure thing. It was not a sure thing that she was going to get into the top 4, the top 3. And I never doubted it, but she has just stood her ground, and she, her standing her ground now with the unions, with taking the red tape, out or the EU, the Brexit, just actually getting it done. I genuinely believe that she will get it done because she does what she says, which is quite a female trait. A lot of the time.
Well, you say she does what she said. She's already had to kind of semi-row back today because one of the things she was talking about yesterday was, I'm going to scrap national pay boards, I'm going to set up regional pay boards. And people then very quickly pointed out that is, in essence, contradictory to the levelling up agenda. If what you're going to try and do is lower regional wages, how are you then committed to levelling up a country? And she's had to do a semi-row back on that today.
I think what's happened today was quite a sort of a knee-jerk, and a much bigger picture didn't come out, and it was very quick to... I don't know what James thinks of it. You've probably got...
I mean, I would take everything that's being said in this leadership contest with a massive grain of salt, because I think the Conservative candidates are pitching to a small selectorate in the Conservative Party that, no disrespect to them, but that is unrepresentative of the country as a whole. It tends to be older people, tends to be more affluent people. And when it comes to governing, whoever wins, they have to govern the entire country, not just, they want to keep the red wall seats. They want to keep some of these constituencies they won from Labour in 2019. I think what they're saying now, the reality will hit them when they take office, and they'll face all the challenges of government. And just as Boris Johnson did, he had to break many of his manifesto commitments. And I think that's at least somewhat understandable because of COVID. But I think making these promises to an unrepresentative sample of the country in the Conservative Party, I think they'll end up breaking most of the pledges they make now.
Who do you think will win?
Liz Truss, I think, will win.
You?
Yeah, I think she's the more credible candidate. I think she comes across better than Rishi Sunak, who comes across, he seems to come across quite irritable, tries to be too smooth. And I also think there's still that kind of distrust of him based on his wife's non-dom status. I think that's a classic case of...
But I think that is such ridiculousness.
I think with the cost of living crisis, I think there's a sense that he's kind of... not living the same way the rest of us are, but it's so apparent with him. There's a double standard that people are struggling, and yet his wife, when he was Chancellor, is not paying tax in the UK. I think for many people that's unjust.
Yeah, and for many people, I feel that particular situation has been leveraged for the politics of envy, because actually non-dom has been a thing for many years across many different governments of different colours. People could have outlawed the non-dom tax status. Nobody ever did.
No, I think that's wrong.
And actually, his wife didn't break any laws, wasn't doing anything wrong. What she was doing is perfectly legally effectively managing her tax. Anyone that says they wouldn't maximise their tax efficiencies or reduce the amount of tax that they can pay, as long as it's within the law, you'd be a fool. Why would you pay more tax than you needed to? Because
I think if you're the Chancellor and you're telling people to tighten their belts and telling people there's no money left, and that yet your wife is not paying tax in the UK, and also claims
on earnings that were outside
but the way they responded to it by claiming that it was because she was an Indian citizen. Well, she's also a British citizen, and there's lots of people with dual citizenship who do pay tax in the UK.
I think I'm with James on this. I think it's optics. It's the ins and outs of she might not have done anything wrong. We are in a crisis and a cost of living crisis, and everyone is at rock bottom after the last couple of years. And you want someone that you can relate to, who you think they speak our language.
I do think Liz Truss comes across better like that.
Yeah.
See, I saw an article the other day, yesterday I think it was, whatever, saying, look at Rishi Sunak. He's building a swimming pool in his back garden at the same time that public baths are having to close down. And I looked at it and I thought, but that's just stupid. What Rishi Sunak? He's married to a billionaire. If I was married to a billionaire, quite frankly, I would have about 7 swimming pools. It doesn't mean that then I cannot relate to other people. I think it's politics of envy. I think it's ludicrous. I think it's pathetic. And I think we should do better than it, quite frankly. Yes, I do. That's not me saying, by the way, that I think Rishi Sunak should be the person that represents this country as Prime Minister. What that is me saying is let's just have a little bit better standards. Let's kind of just try and be better, more professional in the way that we do things. But maybe I'm completely wrong. You tell me. Do you need your Prime Minister to basically be skint in order to be able to relate to you? You tell me. I think it's crackers. But maybe I'm in the wrong. By the way, I must do a little nice plug, because if you're sitting there thinking, nobody's getting to the bottom of things, no one's asking these people the questions that I would be asking them, we've got an opportunity for you, because on Wednesday next week, we'll be doing the People's Forum with Liz Truss live on this channel. So if you've got any questions for her, you can get them in. We'll be putting them, Alistair Stewart actually will be putting them to her. So that's the opportunity. Let's ask her some of the important questions, shall we? In the meantime, let me know your thoughts. I was asking you, are you in Scotland? And what do you think to the reality of Nicola Sturgeon? Who's this? Archie says, it's no joy living in Scotland here with Sturgeon. Everything is broken. Her supporters prevent any debate, and even if you are not a believer, you are silenced. Crikey. A lot of people here, who's this? I live in her, and I believe she's toxic with her own agenda. She hates the English, and Scotland is becoming a third world country under her leadership. That says Marcus. Philip says, Michelle, why have you turned against Truss? I didn't realise I had. That's news to me. Anyway, going to take a quick break. Keep your thoughts coming in. Where do you stand when it comes to the leadership side of things? Who do you think is going to win, by the way? Have you even called it yet? Are you a Conservative Party member? Have you put your vote in yet? Are you going to? Are you going to change your mind? Get in touch. Tell me. gbviews@gbnews.uk. Going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk to you about travel chaos. It's absolutely everywhere, isn't it? Passports, airports, aeroplanes, you name it. It's an absolute mess. What is the answer then? Is it to bring in the army, as some has suggested? Tell me your thoughts, and I'll see you in a couple of minutes.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV. On radio.
On digital. Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices with honest and civilised conversation.
We are not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel. Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today. I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked. Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Where would you like to go?
Just take me to the studio, please, mate. You know where you're going. I've got a show to do. Friday Night Feast on GB News, 7 p.m. And it's like nothing you've ever seen before. We take a different angle on the week's biggest news stories. The viewers and listeners set me some absolutely mad challenges to do. We tried to rehome a rescue dog. And yes, there's some other wacky stuff in there as well. I feel like I could take on the world. Well, that's that. Friday Night Feast with me, Patrick Christie's, every Friday, 7 till 9 p.m. on GB News. Be there.
Hello there, welcome back to Dewbs & Co with me, Michelle Dewberry, keeping me company until 7 o'clock tonight. My panel, we've got the author, James Bloodworth, and the businesswoman, Emma Sale. You guys have been in touch. Paul says, whether you like it or not, you really want someone successful leading the country. Empathy will only get you so far, but it's financial success that allows a country to look after the less well-off. Paul there is referring to the comments that we've just been explaining about Rishi Sunak. I personally think there's a lot of politics of envy going on. Some say that he's just too rich to be able to relate it to the ordinary man on the street. I don't think that's the case, but you tell me what you think. Talking about Nicola Sturgeon, Jan says Sturgeon should get a grip on the day job and stop banging on about never-endums. Ray says, Michelle, when a pint is £3.50 in Newcastle and £5.20 in Loughton, Essex, we need some sort of regional earnings. And don't even get me started on house prices. All I can say to you, Ray, is if you're thankful you don't drink wine, then you'd be whinging about prices of drinks, I can tell you that. Alan says, I'm from Scotland. He says it was the best quote ever from Liz Truss when it comes to ignoring Sturgeon. John says, most of us up here, Michelle, have quite frankly ignored Nicola Sturgeon for years. So Liz Truss is quite right. There you go. Keep your thoughts coming in when it comes to leadership. But for now, let's talk travel, shall we? Have you been on your holidays? Are you planning a holidays? Are you mad? Are you mad? Would you be sitting there now thinking to yourself, look at those queues, look at those delays, look at those people crawling through the baggage flaps to try and get their own bags. That's what I want to do. I mean, if you're someone that looks at those kind of images and thinks, yes, what you want is a holiday, do get in touch and tell me why. Are you insane? I think it's crackers. I think you should all go camping in Cleethorpes and avoid the lot of it. But nonetheless, people, they do like to fly. They do like some sunshine. And it's broken, isn't it, at the moment, travel? Everything from the passport office delays through to getting into the airport, getting through the airport, getting onto the plane, even, by the way, managing to buy a ticket because it's been announced now, British Airways, for example, they've temporarily had to stop selling short-haul tickets. This is all because Heathrow Airport have capped now the numbers of passengers it can deal with, so they've had to temporarily stop selling the tickets to allow people to rebook, etc. The whole thing's a mess. So what's the answer? Is it, as some have suggested, to bring in the army? James Woodward.
No, I mean, the army seems to be giving us the answer for lots of things at the moment. I mean, it's the there was talk of sending the army. I think they have been sent out to the coast of Kent to deal with the migrant crisis, and now it's said that they should be sent to airports. I think the airlines need to get a grip. They were warned in advance that unless they improve paying conditions in the sector, there'd be staff shortages. Lots of people, they laid lots of people off during COVID, and lots of those people didn't return because they got better paying conditions elsewhere. I mean, yes, it is complicated in that to recruit people in an airport, they have to go through security checks, which can take time, to do the background checks. And if you have someone in a sensitive job, they also have to, I think it's have 5 years employment history as well, which is much harder nowadays for people to give, because with the gig economy, you're often classed as self-employed, so it's hard to kind of demonstrate an employment history. But at the same time, I think that the airlines need to start being fined because there's really no excuse. They need to recruit more staff, basically, and get on with it and offer more appealing terms and conditions to get people to actually work for the airlines. I mean, I went away in the end of May and had a 5-hour delay for a flight to Italy.
5-hour delay where?
For a flight to Italy. It was in Gatwick Airport. So we had to wait around for 5 hours. But that was considered lucky because I had friends going away at the same time. Their flights were just cancelled last minute, barely any notice, and not receiving any compensation from the airlines either.
God, it's not for me. This is what I mean. I can't get my head around this. I sit there and I just think, absolutely not. I can't imagine why I would choose to voluntarily, for social reasons, go abroad when it's like this. Get yourself to Cleethorpes. That's what I say. Anyway, Emma, your thoughts?
Oh, no, I'm the same. We live on the river, so with the 3 kids, I'm like, not getting on an aeroplane. You can swim in the river every day.
Yeah, good.
That's your holiday this year. But do you know what? That's the thing, as James said, it's been coming. I think the combination of Brexit and COVID has just created this absolute, with Brexit and like a lot of foreign staff not being able to work, COVID. And the thing is, with COVID and the backlog from that, they're still doing tests. They still have, all the staff are having to test every day. They still, still getting paid for isolating. There's a lot of people taking the mickey on that, because I have friends who work in the airport and they have colleagues who just can't be bothered to go into work. So there's this complete sort of petri dish of so many different things, and like baggage handlers, I think they're still on the minimum pay. So as Jane said, you've got to sort out the pay, but it kind of pains me when you hear that there's sort of 5 million or however many unemployed people, and the people are there to work. So why is this a massive staff shortage going on in the airports? But then there's so many things from the COVID checks. Why are we checking? Surely that's the destination. You get on the plane, let the destination handle it with whatever they've got going on.
It does seem a bit unnecessary now to be constantly checking whether someone's got COVID.
Yeah.
So do you think COVID is being used as an excuse for the work shy? Is that what you're saying? That people are sitting there and going, do you know what? There's a heat wave. When I look out my window, I'm going to say that I've tested positive for COVID and stay at home for a few days.
There is, only because I've heard it from the horse's mouth from a few people. I mean, I live out near Staines, so I'm 5 minutes from Heathrow. So I know a lot of people that work from baggage handlers to engineers that work at Heathrow Airport, and they're all saying the same thing when it comes to that and the having to test, and a lot of people just saying, oh, we're isolating.
And to your point, by the way, about the army, I do feel a bit sorry for the army, because I was thinking about this the other day, and I was thinking they do seem to just get wheeled out to fix any old random problem. And if you're, I don't know, a teenage boy or girl these days, sitting there thinking to yourself, yeah, I want to join the army, Probably one of the last things that you would think that you would be doing would be potentially sorting out queues in an airport.
Handling baggage.
Yeah, handling baggage. Fixing, do you remember was it the Olympics? And they got wheeled out to sort out the security, etc. at the Olympics.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably worse dealing with angry holidaymakers than it is in some war zones around the world. Like, I mean, I'm not sure which I'd like the least. But I mean, the army are massively overstretched anyway. I think we have the smallest army now due to recent cuts for decades. I can't remember what year it is exactly, but for many decades we have a smaller army now. So I don't think it's even going to be possible. I mean, you've got technicians from the army advising Ukraine while there's a war with Russia. You have the army being drafted to Kent to help with the migrant crisis. It just seems ridiculous that, because the airlines can't function properly, that therefore the army has to be drafted into airports as well. I mean, the government should start fining the airlines if they can't get their act together, I think.
Or why don't you sit there and think, right, if the army is the kind of go-to solution, what is it that the army brings that we can't achieve for ourselves? Why is it that the army seem to be so much more organised, disciplined, structured, to be able to swoop in and deal with it? Because they was brought in for the vaccine.
I mean, that makes sense, though, I think. But the army shouldn't be providing cheap labour for the airline industry. It's a billion-dollar industry. They should be offering better, improved paying conditions to get people work. Because if you get a job in an airport, you don't, for a minimum wage baggage handler, say, you're going to have to wait around for perhaps several months to get your DBS or security check back, just to get this minimum wage job where you can, when you can walk into a shop or something, get a job there and start immediately. It's not very attractive for many people.
Yeah, and if you look, by the way, in terms of what the role of the army is, protect the UK, prevent conflict, deal with disaster and fight the nation's enemies. And when it says deal with disasters, they say, we are the nation's insurance policy, able to respond to a wide range of tasks with regulars and reserves held at short notice, ready to respond to crises in the UK or overseas. So there you go. Are you in the army, by the way? And if you are, when you signed up, was you sitting there thinking, I know what I want to do with my life. I want to sort out security problems at the Olympics because they can't seem to figure it out themselves. Is that the kind of thing that you thought you were signing up for if you were deployed to a mission like that or something similar? Do you feel motivated when you do that? If you got brought into, say, Heathrow, which has been the suggestion of some, would you sit there and go, yes, look at what I'm doing, I'm helping the nation in this moment of crisis? Or would you sit there thinking, hang on a minute, someone's taking the mickey out of me because this is private organisations and the government that have just basically been poor and I'm stepping in to pick up the pieces? Let me know which side of the fence you're on with that one. Claire says, how much of this travel chaos is due to people having to be vaccinated and therefore having to lose their job? I'm sure that played a part, I would suggest, in some of the staff shortages. Who else? Paul. You sound like an optimistic guy, Paul. You've emailed in and said, Michelle, things will all sort themselves out in the end. I like your positivity, Paul, but I would just ask you one question. What happens in the meantime? What is the end? And what do we do between now and then? That's my question. Kevin says, I've just had a fantastic holiday in July with no problems at all with luggage or flights. There's a lot of people there that don't have that. I mean, I'm just saying there's a lot of people that don't have that smooth experience, but trust me, I'm being inundated with lots of people that are saying that they've just gone through the airports and indeed did have a smooth experience. Malcolm says, well, I've just flown back from Portugal this afternoon to Gatwick. I only had 20 minutes delay, and apart from that, there were no issues at all. That's not the kind of drama I want on Dewbs & Co. I want to be hearing that you had to crawl through that little flap, that you got your hair extensions stuck in the flappage, that you was rummaging around, getting the wrong baggage accidentally. That's the kind of stories I want to hear. Although if you did indeed have a nice holiday, I am very happy for you. Jason says, no, the army is not the answer. This is the airlines and the airports' issue to sort out. They've laid off all of their staff, so they can now fix the problem. They don't seem to be very good at it, though, do they? Also, we've got to think through, by the way, if you've got people like Liz Truss saying that they're going to get rid of so many civil servants, etc., who are the people that are going to be doing the jobs such as, I don't know, whether it's the admin around background checks and all the rest of it, because things do have consequences to them, don't they? David says, Michelle, the army brings a work ethic which seems to have been lost by many right across our nation. David says, I've got an idea. David, I was just reading it and then I was reading the end of it. He says, I've got a great idea. If you can't go on your holidays, why don't you just rent a dinghy and go across to the Channel? Before you know it, you'll be in a hotel having a whale of a time. I'll leave you to ponder on that one. What else? Have you had any problems? Lots of you here telling me that you haven't. How much of the travel chaos is due? Again, this is coming through again, people saying it's because of mandatory vaccinations that people were laid off. I don't think that's the biggest contributor, but I certainly think that it is one. Darren says, Michelle, you are misleading people. Not every airport is suffering. I've just been from Newcastle and there was no issues at all. Also, I had a new passport and that was returned in 6 days. Before you say there's travel chaos, why don't you ask people where? OK, well, David's told me off, so you tell me. Have you experienced any travel chaos, or am I making the whole thing up? You tell me. Going to take a quick break. When I come back, I want to talk to you about the workplace. Do you think we're going a little bit soft? It's all about trying to attract and keep Generation Z. These days, you know, when you look at job ads, you've got safe spaces, you've got 4-day weeks, you can bring your dog to work, you've got hairdressers on site, free food, free this, you name it. Are we going a bit soft, or is that the workplace of the future? You tell me, and I'll see you in a couple of minutes.
Coming up on Dan Wootton tonight, as the race to become PM intensifies, 48-hour Cabinet Minister Michelle Donnellan gives her verdict on the candidates and whether she thinks ousting Boris was still the right move for the Tory party. Plus, I'll meet the Brit who dumped his long-term partner for a Ukrainian refugee. And there's opinion galore from Nigel Farage, Commonwealth Games medalist turned women's sports activist Mary Yamauchi, and my superstar panel of former Daily Star editor Dawn Neeson, political correspondent John Sargent, and the author and journalist Amy Nicol. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursday, from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV.
On radio.
On digital. Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices with honest and civilised conversation.
We are not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel. Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today. I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked. Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Where would you like to go?
Just take me to the studio, please, mate. You know where you're going. I've got a show to do. Friday Night Feast on GB News, 7 p.m. And it's like nothing you've ever seen before. We take a different angle on the week's biggest news stories. The viewers and listeners set me some absolutely mad challenges to do. We tried to rehome a rescue dog. And yes, there's some other wacky stuff in there as well. I feel like I could take on the world. Well, that's that. Friday Night Feast with me, Patrick Christie's, every Friday, 7 till 9 p.m. on GB News. Be there.
Coming up on The Mark Stein Show,
as Liz Truss promises no more lockdowns if she comes into power, we'll be asking Toby Young of the Daily Sceptic if he believes she's ready to turn her back on the pandemic as Prime Minister. Monkeypox mania marches on, but Natalie Winters won't be leaving any stones unturned following a WHO meeting about the vaccine. Plus, Eva Vladingerbroek is back to shine a light on digital IDs after the government in Greece starts rolling them out to its population. All that and more on The Mark Steyn Show tonight at 8 o'clock.
Hello there, welcome back to Dewbs & Co with me, Michelle Dewberry. Keeping me company tonight, my panel, we've got the author, James Bloodworth, and the businesswoman, Emma Sale. Coming up at 7 o'clock, we'll have Nigel Farage. Nigel, good evening to you. What have you got for us?
Michelle, good evening. Well, after 696 people crossed the English Channel yesterday, I've got some exclusive TikTok footage, Albanian gangs advertising for boat crossings last week at £4,000, and today a summer sale to all that are interested. You can cross for £3,500. We'll ask the question, why is this stuff still allowed to go out on TikTok, and what will Liz Truss or Rishi Sunak do about this crisis?
Sounds good, Nigel. We shall see you at 7 o'clock. Right, you guys have been getting in touch. If you just joined us, you've missed the conversation we were having about the leadership debate. Whether or not Liz Truss was right to say what she said about Nicola Sturgeon. Should we just ignore her? Lots of you guys getting in touch on that one. I was asking, are you in Scotland? Do you have a view? Jim says, Michelle, I just wish we could stop talking about dividing the union. I have to say, I do tend to agree with you there. But Nan, she's been in touch saying, Michelle, we're not admirers of Nicola Sturgeon, but we do want independence. The absurd focus on all things London and the south of England is what we take great exception to. We would much rather be an independent country. There you go. I have to say, though, there's not a lot of love coming through for Nicola Sturgeon. Are you out there? Are you a Sturgeon lover? Are you out there? Can you get in touch and tell me? Dan is not one of them. He says Sturgeon shouldn't be ignored. She should, quite frankly, be charged with treason for trying to break up the UK. There you go. You're not messing about, Dan, are you? Keep your thoughts coming in. gbviews@gbnews.uk is the email to reach me. Now, let's talk workplaces, shall we? Are you in the workplace? Have you recently retired? Are you thinking about going back into the workplace? When you think about the workplaces now, the broad spectrum of ages that are in them is vast, isn't it? You've got people in their 20s right through to people late 60s, sometimes people coming back from retirement in their 70s, etc. Lots of different personalities and expectations, to put it mildly. And now lots of Generation Zs. Unfortunately, that is not me. I'm a little bit too old for that. It's all about now the perks, it would seem, to try and attract these younger people, but also to retain them. Emma, you know, there's been a little bit of criticism, you're a businesswoman, about workplaces. Some of the older employees are suggesting that the workplaces are going a bit soft. Some of the younger people are saying that they're not, they're just becoming modern and fashionable and moving with the times. Where do you stand on it?
I think it's tricky. I can see both sides to it, and being, you know, a company owner and having juggled, and it has got harder in the last, you know, few years, and trying to keep everyone happy. And but the way I see it is every business is different, and this whole kind of, it's focusing too much on company culture and have you got a pool table, have you got Prosecco on tap, have you all these things in order to keep, you know, your employees and offer them the, you know, the perks of the job, when ultimately it comes down to this person fitting in. Especially small businesses, these people have to fit into a small team, but often it's quite like a family. They have to fit in. They have to fit into the company ethos. They have to, you know, really buy. The main bit is buying into what the company's about and the mission, and I feel that's being lost in this need to have this amazing company culture. And it loses track of actually, you know, why are they in there? Why are they in there in the first place? What are they wanting to do? Do you want them in there because they're going to just just mess around playing table tennis, or are they going to live and breathe the business and really feel it and get on board the mission? So I just think it's how you handle them and inspire them and empower them to actually want to work is being lost.
Well, you lost me when you were talking about Prosecco on tap. I zoned out at that point and I was starting to dream about Prosecco on tap, thinking, where are these workplaces? Quite frankly, I want to go work there. But joking aside, what do you think to what Emma is saying there? Your thoughts on this whole kind of Gen Z? Are we going a bit soft to entice them in?
Yeah, I'm not sure if we're necessarily going a bit soft, but I think the thing with the workplace is you want kind of a basic level of respect and decency and some level of flexibility, but it's a lot of that's kind of common sense. I think some of these kind of gimmicks around, you know, Prosecco on tap or therapy, free therapy sessions, or I remember I in 2016 I went undercover at some companies and I investigated some workplaces, and one of the places I went, it was very gimmicky. So I mean, there was this free bar at the Christmas party, and there was like celebrities invited, and you got offered these discounts in local restaurants. But we were only just barely paid. I think we were paid the minimum wage. Like we weren't paid a living wage, and it seemed like these things were done as an excuse, kind of not to pay people a proper wage. I don't think this stuff is universal either. I mean, my girlfriend, she works somewhere where they won't even let them have a microwave in the kitchen there to heat up their food, to force them to go and use the canteen and spend money there, which I think there's still a lot of bad workplaces around. So yeah, I think some of this stuff is a bit silly and maybe is a bit unnecessary, but there are still a lot of workplaces where people struggle to even get a basic, be treated with a basic level of decency.
There's really a workplace out there that won't allow a microwave.
Yes, yes.
Really?
Yeah, she complains about this to me every day. They're not allowed to have a microwave in the office to heat their food up. So she today messaged me and said she had to eat the food I cooked at the weekend cold because they wouldn't let them heat it up. I won't name the company, but that is going on.
But why wouldn't you name the company? Because if that's the way that they're behaving, they need.
I don't want to get her into trouble.
Oh,
so,
right.
but it is going on. I mean, yeah, there is this stuff. And we can say some of these things are a bit silly, but there are lots of bad employers as well, unfortunately.
Do you work at a company that's a bad employer? I do actually think that these bad employers should be named and shamed. They should be held, you know, if you are a boss that won't allow your employees to microwave a bowl of soup, there's something matter with you. You should be named and shamed, and then you should be defending why you won't let your employees microwave their own food. It's bizarre. I mean, are they worried? Do you think they're worried about the electricity bill?
I think the manager's on kind of a power trip. I think that's what it is. It's kind of a power trip, I would say.
But then, I mean, sorry, it's your girlfriend, but then why would your girlfriend stay in an environment?
Good question. No, I mean,
your partner,
because
but someone's.
Can she not just take a microwave into her? I'd just take a little mini microwave and put it on my desk. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I mean, she will watch this, so that's a good suggestion, yeah.
Oh, there you go, James's girlfriend. The suggestion from us guys is take your own microwave in, plug it in, see how far you get. If you get into trouble, tell James, give him your permission to flag it, and we'll name and shame him, because that's not acceptable, really. It's quite frankly bonkers. Generation Z, by the way, if you're sitting there, because I said I wasn't in it, if you're wondering what is Generation Z, it refers to those born between 1997 and 2012. That makes me feel old.
Just out.
2000. Yeah, I'm there. I'm in there. I'm just out of it by the. I was going to say by the skin of my teeth, but I'm lying. I'm absolutely definitely nowhere near that. Who's this? Paul says, to be fair. Paul is now defending the employer that won't allow a microwave because what Paul is saying is, to be fair, why would anyone want to sit next to somebody who is eating stinky food? You can't even take hot food on a megabus these days. I've got to say, Paul, you actually said you can't take hot foot on a megabus, but I do think you mean food. And look, they're all coming in now. What have we started? Graham says, my wife works for the NHS and toasters are not allowed in hair department. Is this a thing? Is this a thing?
I don't know, toasters. I mean, I electrocuted myself and knocked the lights out of a house at school when I stuck a knife in it, so...
You stuck a knife in a toaster?
I was trying to get a bit of bread out and I hadn't learnt that you shouldn't put a knife in a toaster.
If my producers are listening to this programme, please can I request brighter panellists, please, going forward? I've got someone on here that sticks knives into toasters and then wonders why they are getting electrocuted. Who's this? John, what type of staff do people employ that want a pool table, whatever happened to a fair day's pay for a fair day's work? John, this is what we're saying. A lot of the younger people in this day and age, you know, they do expect now to be treated differently in the workplace, whether it is less working days, whether it is more flexible holidays, whether it's not working weekends, evenings, having safe spaces, therapy, you name it. Which is it's promoting me to ask, are we going soft in the workplace? Lots of people are now talking about microwaves. If it's any reassurance to your girlfriend, James, I do think she's not alone in not being allowed a microwave.
I don't understand it. I really don't understand it. Because there's a cost of living crisis. It's more economical to take your own food in often rather than spending a fortune in a cafe or restaurant. And you're just asking to heat it up in a microwave. What's the problem?
Well, we're going to, that's the advice we've got for James's girlfriend. Take your own microwave to work. Let us know how you get on. Lots of love coming through for your hair tonight, James, as well. Thanks. Talking about the army situation, Ronnie's been in touch saying it's not just the army that helps out, it's the RAF, it's the Navy, etc. I did it and I absolutely loved it, he says, because he got the sense of helping people. Lots of you still writing in to say that you're not a fan of Nicola Sturgeon. I asked, is there anyone out there that is? You've not found your way to my inbox yet. I'm sure you're out there, though, so do get in touch and I'll read you out on a future date. My mum has been in touch as well, saying, Michelle, what are those kitchen pots in the front of your desk? I don't know, Mum. The interior is not my responsibility, but what I do think is, thank goodness I don't have the job of dusting them. Right, that is all you've got time for. James, Emma, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your company as well at home. Lots of people laughing at you for putting a knife in a toaster. Don't try that at home, kids. Have a good evening, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Hi there, it's Aidan McGivern here from the Met Office. Staying largely cloudy over the next 24 hours, breezy as well, but that breeze coming from the southwest will continue to bring some warmth and humidity with it. Low pressure to the north and northwest of the UK at the moment. That's brought some rain and a lot of cloud in from the Atlantic during the last 24 hours. And over the next 24 hours, we'll continue to see largely cloudy skies and some rain, mostly northern and western England overnight, as well as parts of Wales, especially over the hills and coasts. Showers or even longer spells of rain pushing into the northwest of Scotland, Northern Ireland, spreading into other parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland and Northern England. A lot of cloud overnight and a continued breeze, so a mild, if rather muggy night to come, 15 to 18 Celsius fairly widely. Then a gloomy start to the day, especially for parts of Wales and the southwest. Early rain here clears into central England, turns to showers, and then skies brightening. It stays dry through the day in the far southeast. Sunshine reappears for the southern half of the UK, but scattered showers continue for Scotland, Northern Ireland and Northern England. A cooler feel in the north, but still very warm in the southeast, 27 to 28 Celsius. Then we keep the clear skies in the south overnight, but further showers will affect North Wales, Northern England, parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, perhaps even some more prolonged rain at times for the west of Scotland, that moving eastwards through the early hours of Thursday. And it's another mild night, but not quite as warm.